What's up guys, it's Crash, and a new realistic tactical FPS extraction shooter was announced today, and it kind of came almost out of nowhere. We talked about the impending announcement Monday on the live podcast show, but it is out. We have some information about it, so I want to talk to you guys about it, give you the rundown of all the information that we have. You guys can see the trailer playing behind me, some of my first impressions on that, as well as some of the things that we can glean from the information on their Discord. There's a lot of info out there, so I want to feed that to you guys, and then towards the end of the video, we'll get into a little bit more opinions on what I think of everything so far, as well as some of the apprehensions and some of the things that I hope the team is looking at to make sure this game succeeds. But this game kind of excites me because I am traditionally a little bit apprehensive about extraction shooters. I'll tell you why towards the end of the video, but this one looks really neat. I love the setting. That's right in our wheelhouse. I love the modern setting with modern equipment. There appears to be a fair amount of customization, and the world, as you guys can see behind me, looks stunning. It is in Unreal Engine 5, which is really cool. And looking at their website, we talked about this on Monday, it sounded like they were using kind of the robust tools that are available in Unreal 5, as well as doing some of their own behind the scenes solutions to programming and coding. So we could see some unique stuff that's not just built into UE5 when it comes to the coding side of things. When we talk about the studio that it came from, I had not heard of them, and it kind of makes sense when I look at their website. A lot of the games they've made are either mobile or not necessarily games or the genre that I'm into. So it's kind of crazy to see a larger studio with a fairly large size following throw their hat into the ring in the almost starting to get crowded extraction FPS scene. And I know, guys, I don't enjoy this any more than you do, but it's going to get compared to Tarkov. I know that's going to happen. I'm going to make some Tarkov references throughout the video. I'm sorry. I know we need to judge games based on their own merit, but kind of the gold standard in this space, it's inevitably going to happen. I know you guys don't like it either, but it's going to get compared to Tarkov. So let's just get into the information that we know and see what we can see from the trailer, as well as their Discord, which the link to the Discord is in the description down below. So the first thing we see is that chopper vehicle. Now I'm assuming that's probably an infill animation. It would be really cool on this large map. We'll get into the details of that in just a minute. If you could actually fly the chopper, I'm guessing it's just for infill. Also, the infill and the exfil is going to be interesting because this game is doing something that Tarkov has been thinking about for a long time. Some other extraction shooters have pulled it off, and I really like, and that comes with persistent servers. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit as well. But one of the key things that you can take away from the trailer is a look at the loot screen. And if we look at it a little bit closer, you guys can see some of the equipment that you can use. It looks like the JPC2 armor plate carriers there, K-bar knife, Glock 17, the M4A1. So some of the standard classic first-person shooter weapons are there, as well as a headset. It appears you'll be able to wear different kinds of rigs, as well as plate carriers. And then you also have a backpack. I'm assuming there are varying size of that as well. But something else you can see down below is the R4D. It appears to be potentially a secure container. So as you guys suspected in an extraction shooter, and they talk about it a little bit more on Discord, when you die, you lose everything, like Escape from Tarkov. I would guess that's kind of a secure container. So the items that you store within the secure container, you get to keep with you even if you die. The enemies can't loot that, and you get to use those on your next run. The stuff we can see in the low left is also really important. We can see apparently there's blood loss, hydration, energy, so you're going to have to definitely eat and drink as you're playing. A weight system, which probably affects your movement and how fast you move through the map and things like that. I'm hoping one of the things that Tarkov does that really annoys me is once you get higher weight, it actually changes how you aim. It changes like your turn speed and your rotation, and actually changes your mouse sensitivity. So I really don't enjoy that. You can see an intoxication and a radiation meter as well. So apparently there's some other outside environmental effects that can be taking place and affecting your character. Some of the other things that I noticed within the trailer are that I think the animations look pretty well. I think the character and player models could use a little bit more detail. The caveat being, this is early pre-alpha gameplay. Now, a lot of times when we see these games announced, it's years and years before they're out. There is some information floating around from a press release that the game could be releasing in Q1 of 2024. So actually, that's a little bit why it's exciting, because it's not necessarily years and years away. We could get our hands on this within the next year or so. The trailer looks really neat, and I think it does what a trailer needs to do. It gets people excited because the environment looks really cool within Unreal Engine 5. It looks expansive, it looks vast. I really like to see that. Some of the water reflections and how the lighting is moving through the trees. The audio sounds pretty cool when you can hear the people walking, you can hear the breathing. So I really like what I'm seeing from an immersive standpoint in the trailer. There's a lot of really good information on the game from the team's Discord that I want to get into with you guys. So Gray Zone is an immersive tactical FPS with a maximum focus on realism. Join a private military company and navigate the vast open world setting alone or in a squad. Adapt to your surroundings, use tactics to your advantage, and fight against other human operators and AI controlled enemies. So from right there, we see that you can play it alone, you can team up, play it in a squad, however you want to. Also PvP and PvE elements within the environment. The backstory on the game goes into like a mysterious event that took place on an island in Southeast Asia. The entire area has been put under quarantine with almost all the civilian population evacuated by the United Nations. There's 3 private military groups that are tasked with going in, exploring the region, undercovering its secrets, and bringing back anything of value. So that's where you get like the looter shooter aspect of it. Now, some of the details on the map are really cool. It sounds huge. It says explore a sprawling 42 square kilometer of the Democratic Republic of Lemang, a fictional Southeast Asian country inspired by the stunning landscapes of Laos. Utilize explorable landing zones and helicopters to move through a persistent world that keeps on living even when you're not playing. So I think that is really big right there. The persistent world that keeps on living when you're not playing. The Cycle Frontier did this to an extent, but this is one of my biggest problems with Tarkov is you infill and exfil in the same places at the same time, and really good players start to learn when and where other people spawn, when they should be crossing or moving when they're going to the high loot areas, and can just be ready and set up and ready to kill you. And it adds quite a bit of predictability to the game Escape from Tarkov, but having persistent servers that you randomly infill and exfil from can really add to immersion. In my opinion, it can really add to unpredictability, not necessarily knowing when and where your threats are coming from. So that's one of the biggest low-key things that I think is flying under the radar with this game that I'm really excited to see if they pull it off well. That is the persistent world that keeps on happening while you're not in there playing, because it just leads to absolute unpredictability when it comes to finding threats, moving through the map. What are you going to find when you get there? Could the loot have already been taken? Could it be there? Does it have dynamic loot? That's another huge question. But just having that persistent server adds so much depth to the game and replayability, in my opinion. They go on to talk about tactical and realistic gameplay, embrace the challenges of a true tactical FPS with extensive weapon customization and actual ballistic simulation in this high-stakes environment. Every decision counts, and every fight could result in the loss of your hard-earned gear and progress. So there we get confirmation. You lose everything if you die, but also there are actual ballistics. I'm assuming that means bullet drop, bullet travel. You have to lead your targets. Potentially some of the things you can do to your firearm change the ballistic model of those things. That's cool. That's something you have to have if you're going to push that tactical and realistic gameplay. This screen that they show is really cool, talking about the customizable weapons and gear. Create your own firearm that perfectly suits your needs and playstyles by exchanging, removing, or adding hundreds of various parts, mounts, and accessories. The behavior and performance of each weapon can change, making it adaptable to any situation. So I really like to see this. Again, this adds to replayability. We'll see how it plays out in the future with metas and balancing and things. I'm sure that will be an ongoing forever process with the title, as it always is when you have so many attachments and so many things to balance. But having that is definitely a must in this kind of game, and it's good to see that they're working on that. Some other mechanics that they're also talking about is the unique health system, where you can learn the intricacies of Gray Zone Warfare's unique health system that abandons the widespread idea of hit points and instead aims to simulate the human body realistically. Every injury can negatively affect your perception and performance. Correctly identifying the issue and finding the right solution is one of the key elements you have to master in order to stay alive or save the lives of your teammates. So this is something that Tarkov has. You guys know there's CMS kits, there's IFAKs, there's AFAKs, there's all kinds of different stuff that you can use to heal yourself that do different things, that heal fractures, light and heavy bleeds. If you black out a limb and it loses the entire health, you have to use a CMS or a Reserve kit to build that back up. It looks like they're doing something similar here, but this is a spot in the game from this GIF that you guys see from the Discord. The animations look really cool for this. They look different and unique. It's not just a standard healing animation. So it really adds to immersion, in my opinion. You guys can see a quick shot of like the detailed view of the health system, where you can see where you do have injuries and address those. Again, not something that I love to see in like a super fast-paced arena shooter, but if you're going realistic, if you're going survival, this is a nice layer of realism to have over the top of things. Again, with these unique animations in this environment, pretty exciting to say the least. So then when talking about the story, they go on to say that you're going to immerse yourself in a mature experience with an engaging storyline told through numerous missions. Encounter a colorful cast of characters, each with their own secrets and agendas. Navigate the web of lies, decide who you can trust, and expose the truth. Nothing is black and white, only different shades of gray. Now, this starts to allude to some of the things that the game needs to focus on and that I think they need to do to make it succeed. And I often talk about things and I see new games like this, and as you guys can tell, I get excited, but I think it's important to take a little bit of a step back and think about some of the things that are inherently difficult when you're making an extraction shooter. I think extraction shooters are fundamentally flawed to an extent. And what I mean by that, I'm not saying you can't have fun. I'm not saying they can't be great games. I'm just saying the game is almost always about progression, right? It's about completing missions, getting better gear, and eventually there's no game that has infinite progression. You will eventually get to the end of it. It happens in Tarkov when folks like me get max traders, or when people who really play a lot get to Kappa. They've made it through all the missions, and there's really not a lot left to do if you're not going in, if you're not infilling to chase a mission or to look for a piece of loot or something, an item. You start to ask yourself, why am I going back in? So when we talk about the story, when we talk about the missions, that's when I start to wonder in my head, what are they planning to keep this game playable long-term? Are there going to be events? Is the map going to be dynamic? Are they going to add content in that way? Are there going to be wipes? So those are huge questions. I want to encourage you guys, if you are excited about this game, to keep looking for that, because it is going to be a premium experience. It is going to cost some money. It's not going to be free to play. So when you're deciding whether or not to purchase it, keep an eye on what they're going to do long-term to keep that playable, because I think extraction shooters like this start out super fun, but if there's not enough content there, missions wise, progression wise, if there's not really much of an end game, then they can get boring really fast. Now, depending on the price, depending how long that takes, you might get your money out of it before you get to the end game and you're chilling and everything's great. But that's just something that I'm really looking forward to, because oftentimes in extraction shooters, when you get towards the end of the progression, start to run out of reason to play. So some of the other questions I have, I didn't really see anything about crafting or hideouts. Hopefully we learn more about those. I think those would be great additions to the game, as well as events. I think events and stuff going on, real-time events, could keep things nicely exciting, could keep things fresh. Tarkov does that just a little bit, as well as seeing how slow the progression is, what's involved with progression. That's going to be really important, as well as anti-cheat. You guys know extraction shooters, any shooter has a problem with anti-cheat, so I'm hoping they're looking at solutions to that. I would recommend, I still have a lot of high hopes, probably not really well founded, but I hope AI anti-cheat works. I hope the guys over at anybrain.gg can really get anti-cheat figured out. We can harness some of this powerful AI technology to get jerks out of our video games. But I hope they're looking at anti-cheat stuff. I'm sure they are. You pretty much have to in any multiplayer shooter, and this studio looks like they know what they're doing. The graphics and stuff look really cool. It's exciting to see a extraction looter shooter built for PC on Unreal Engine 5. So anyway, guys, I think I got through all the information as best as I could. Hopefully this video served you well and you got what you needed out of it. I can't thank you enough for watching. We'll keep our eye on this game for sure. Thank you so much. We'll see you later on.